All right, what's up guys, it's Coach Bronson, and we're gonna talk about how to deadlift, how to pick things up off of the floor without hurting your back, okay? You hear people say all the time, use your legs, don't use your back. What does that actually mean? Okay, let's talk about that. When we're picking something up off the floor, we're doing what's called a hinge motion. So we're hinging. Our hips are our hinging joint. That's the joint that's designed to bend in the middle of our body. Our lower back is not what's designed to bend in our lower body, okay? We are not meant to take load, right, heavy load on our lower back. That's what our hips are for. It's the biggest joint you have in the body. It can handle the most amount of stress, okay? So you bend at the hips, okay? Notice when I do this, I keep my lower back straight. And I'm gonna get a PVC pipe here and I'll demonstrate for you what it means when we say keep your lower back tight, okay? This is called the stick drill, and this is something you can do at home with a broom, a mop, something like that, right? The first thing when doing a hip hinge, when doing a deadlift or picking something up off the floor is, can you bend over without making your lower back do the work? So we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna put this on the back of my head, my upper back, and then push it into my butt bone, okay? Trying to keep my abs tight, I'm going to bend, okay? Notice the stick doesn't leave any part of my body as I bend over. That's a good thing. That's what we're looking for. That means my hips are doing all the work, okay? What many people do for many different reasons is as they get to about right here, then they start losing their hips stop moving. If they keep bending, then notice how the stick is leaving my lower back, it's leaving my hips, and now the stick is going into the air. That's because my lower back is now doing the bending instead of my hips. If I want to fix that, then I need to do one of two things. I need to learn how to control my hips better to push it out and make that connection happen again, or I need to work on my mobility in my hamstring and my glutes to open that up so that it can move into that position. A lot of people can get here and they try and try and try, and no matter how much control they have, they don't have the range of motion to make it happen. So there's two things that you can do. I'm gonna give you two exercises that you can do, all right? To one, learn how to control your hips better so that you can put your hips in the right position, and then secondly, to help increase your range of motion so that you can not, once you've got the control, you can actually make it happen, okay? So the first thing, really simple, cat camel. You may have seen this before, all right? And this is basically where all you're doing is just using your hips, okay? There's positions. We got a backward tilt and a forward tilt to the hips. So going from here, we're gonna go cat, and then we're gonna go camel. All I'm doing is pushing my hips forward and backward and controlling. Learning how to control my hips, right? I'm not lifting my chest. Notice the difference between cat camel, you doing it with your chest and your back versus doing it with your hips. If I do it with my back, notice my hips don't really change position. I'm just doing it with my chest. I'm lifting my upper back. That's not what we're looking for. What I want you to do is do it with your hips, right? Big difference. My back's not really moving now, and this is all coming from my hips. It is possible when you're working on hip control and getting better at deadlifts, it is possible to do cat camel incorrectly, all right? So we want to focus on hip movement. Stick your butt out, pull your butt in, okay? Push your hips forward, push your hips back, right? That's what we're looking for. All right, and by hips, I mean, I'm talking about the top of your hip. If my hip is in a line like this, right, this is pointing forward, the top is pointing down. Pushing back means the top is pointing up, okay? So that's one thing you can do. Once you get that good control where you can just move your hips and you're not doing it with your chest or your back, then you can do what's called rocking frog, which starts in the same position, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna get your knees out wide. You're gonna take your feet as much as possible. You wanna try to get the flat part inside of your instep down on the ground, okay? You're gonna go to your elbows. I'll do this from the front and from the side, all right? You're gonna get into that forward anterior, what we call anterior tilt position, stick your butt up in the air, and then you're gonna try to push back as far as you can. Okay, relax, push back as far as you can. Okay, what this is gonna do is not only work on your hip control by forcing you to keep your hip in the right position, but it's also going to work on opening up your hips, your adductors, your hamstrings, your glutes, all of those things that could be keeping you from getting in that range of motion so that you can deadlift without hurting yourself, okay? So let's do it from the side. right? Wider knees, get the flat part of your feet on the ground, get on your elbows, anterior tilt the top of your hips towards the ground, and then you're gonna push back. The idea here, if you can get to the point where you're in this position and your hip crease is below your knee, then you're doing pretty good, just like a squat, all right? That's what we're looking for. So remember, it's about hip position, it's about range of motion. If you're doing deadlifts and you have problems with your lower back hurting, work on those two things. These two exercises, cat camel, focusing on your hips, and rocking frog is gonna help.